The Auburn Tigers have an incredible opportunity today, and Stephen Pearl seems ready.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Special show today because you won't hear from me hardly at all. Darrell Dapprich, our guy out there in Tucson covering this game. During Auburn's shoot-around Friday night, he spoke with Stephen Pearl. Here's that conversation.
Coach, you know this roster, we've talked about at the beginning of the year, the turnover, the new players. You're about a fourth of the way through the season. Kind of give the fans a state of the union on where you think this team is. Are they coming together like you thought? Are they ahead of where they were, behind? Just kind of summarize for me.
I think we're in a good spot right now. 9 games in, based on the opponents that we've played, for this group to be 7-2. I feel like we're progressing in the right direction where there's still a ton of room to improve and grow, which I think is something that we are obviously, excited about because, even though we've won some, beating NC State was a good win, but we were really sloppy in that game. Beating Oregon in a neutral was good, but we were pretty, sloppy in that game too. So, I think there's a lot of room for this group to continue to grow and get better, and I think that's what gives us all encouragement. But also understanding that, we got our hands full, this next stretch of games, and then obviously we jump right into conference play. So, group's gelling together pretty well. Guys are getting along. We're starting to figure out our rotation, and guys are getting more comfortable in the system. So, right now we're in a solid spot, but we just got to continue to improve each and every week.
Talking about that non-conference schedule, obviously last year was brutal, and then it doesn't get very much easier this year. 3-2 against some of the power schools. You beat Oregon, you beat North Carolina State, great game against St. John's, which I felt like could be a turn in the season, especially that second half. What does that do for this team from a confidence standpoint when you go into conference play knowing you've played the best of the best?
Yeah, you're not going to play anyone that's any better than what we've already played. But then two, you look at the environment that we're about to play in tomorrow. We're not going to go into any arenas that's going to catch us off guard because, having the opportunity to play here is one that, I think will serve us well down the road and will give us an opportunity to play against the best in one of the toughest home court environments in college basketball. So you do it for a purpose. You do it, one, to obviously help build your resume, but two, to help get you ready for SEC play. And, that's what this thing is going to hopefully accomplish for us.
The ACC-SEC challenge is pretty cool because for years, and especially when you played, the ACC was the standard for basketball. The fact that you guys won the game that clinched the SEC winning that invitational going 9-7 and beating a North Carolina State team coached by Will Wade, talk about how that helps as far as a springboard coming into this game.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that we were the ones that clinched it, so that's a positive because we obviously didn't hold up our end of the bargain last year at Duke. So, obviously it was more focused on us more than anything. We had to win that game for Auburn, and, it's obviously a benefit to the SEC that we wanted as well. But for us, we just had to focus on us and try and get better at the things that we got to continue to improve on. So, it was one that I think we had to have, just knowing that we're coming in playing 2 road games against the top 2 teams in college basketball over these next couple of weeks. So, knew we had to get that one because that was an important one. And, I think tomorrow, it's really, for us, it's about just kind of seeing where we're at. It's a great litmus test and, understanding that our guys are, obviously excited about the opportunity, but, their expectation is to win the game, even though that's a pretty lofty expectation. Our guys have a lot of confidence and, they've shown that they're capable of playing with the best teams in the country, but they've also shown that if we get away from what we do, you could have a Michigan on your hands, and we want to try to avoid that.
We continue Darrell's interview with Stephen in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at GameTime. GameTime is the best place to buy tickets. We all know how great GameTime is for several reasons. One, the view from your seat, or the all-in pricing is my personal favorite with GameTime, or just how easy it is. You can buy tickets in just a few clicks. Or is it the Game Time guarantee as far as they're so confident in their pricing versus their competitors? Take the guesswork out of buying tickets, whether it's the World Cup matches coming up, a concert, an event, whatever it is. Take the guesswork out of it with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, download the app, make an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Omaha Steaks. Love Omaha Steaks. Christmas is here, and look, there's always a few people on your list you don't know what to get for them. This is it. This is it. Omaha Steaks almost makes it too simple. Whether you're treating yourself this season or sending something memorable to family and friends, Omaha Steaks delivers handcrafted perfection right to their door. And you can save big on unforgettable gifts at Omaha Steaks by going to omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide and an extra 20% off select favorites during their cyber sale. And for an additional $35 off, use promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com, promo code COLLEGE. Terms apply. See site for details.
Before we get into the Arizona game and a couple specifics, how are you guys health-wise? I know Keyshawn Hall was ailing a little bit, Walker, Jovic. Are you guys getting healthier for this game?
Yeah, I mean, as healthy as we can be. Obviously it's a pretty brutal stretch when you have 3 games in 3 days in Vegas, travel back, and then you got NC State on a Wednesday night, and then you travel 5 hours out here for this one, for a Saturday night game. So we had a little bit of a sick bug going around last week, and I think guys are starting to recover from that. Murph's still trying to get over some things. Keyshawn is trying to get through his foot injury, and Phillips doing okay with his wrist injury, and Simon's almost fully healthy from his sick bug last week. So it's every team's going through this right now. It's a work in progress. Like, everybody's banged up, everybody's sick right now. So they're going through it too. They got to guard that tweaked his ankle last week. So I mean, it's just part of college basketball, and for us, it's about being able to trust your bench and your depth, and it's next guy up.
Speaking specific about Arizona, you talked about how tough it is to play here, and it is. They're like 64-6 under Tommy Lloyd at home. But in his presser, he went out of his way to genuinely praise Auburn and what this brand means now, and that when you guys called to play them, they jumped to that. As his words were, when Auburn calls for something like that. And I think that speaks volumes about where this program's at.
Yeah, I mean, we used to try and schedule these games when we first got here, and our number was so bad that people were like, no, it makes no sense, because if you come in here and beat us, it's a negative for us. Whereas now, we come in here, and obviously it's a good number as far as your net goes, and it's a quality opponent. So, obviously winning it for them would really help them, but also, if they were to lose the game, it wouldn't hurt them. So it's one of those things where, and not a lot of teams are doing home and homes now, and I think, Coach Lloyd really jumped at that because he wanted to give his fans the opportunity to play, a quality opponent like Auburn, who's won 5 SEC championships and been to 2 Final Fours. As excited as we are to play against them and like the history that they have, I think their fans are equally as excited to kind of have Auburn come into town and play in their home arena, because they don't get to do that a lot in non-conference games.
Offensively, they're very big. A lot of what they get's around the basket. They get a lot of offensive rebounds, second chance points. However, they only average 2 threes a game and only take 4 or 5. Will you do something defensively to try to get them extend a little bit and force them to shoot the basketball from the outside, knowing how big they are inside? Well,
they average 6 makes a game, and their percentage is probably 37%. So while they don't shoot a lot of them, they shoot a good percentage. So it's kind of it's tough. It's catch-22, because if you let them shoot threes, they can make them. But at the same time, like you said, they're top 15 in the country in 2-point field goal percentage made around the basket. So I think we got to do a really good job of obviously loading to the ball. Had to have great ball pressure, because they really do a good job of doing the high lows into the post. They have guards that can really get downhill. So we really got to pack the paint, but then also recognize they have 2 or 3 guys that are lethal shooters at the same time. It's why they're the number 2 team in the country. It's why they're a top 12 offensive and defensive efficiency team in the country. So they're an unbelievable opponent. Up to this point, they look as good as anyone, right there with Michigan. So going to be a great opportunity for our guys to really see where we're at this point in the season.
Last question. Defensively, they really are good around the rim, and it's going to be very difficult. But they give up a lot of the mid-range stuff. They'll give you that. Right. And, of course, you shot 55% against North Carolina State. If you hit threes, is there going to be the patience factor to settle for some mid-range jumpers and be patient enough to take those?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be in drop coverage, so we got to take what the defense gives us. If they set a ball screen, that 5 man's parked underneath the rim, then we got to trust our guards shoot that mid-range jump shot or draw 2 and get off it. So we got to put pressure on their bigs, and we got to do a good job. Obviously, when you play on the road in these environments, it takes special. So what's special? Special is making big threes in these games. Special is finishing through contact. Special is playing off of 2 feet and not turning the ball over, because if you turn it over, they get out in transition and they run. So we got to be very disciplined in what we do. We got to be aggressive in what we do. And we got to execute at a high level.
Thanks for your time, Coach. Good luck.
War Eagle, appreciate you.
War Eagle.
Great stuff from Darrell there. And yeah, thank you for Steven and for his time. Super, super cool. Super cool. The Auburn Tigers take on Arizona very late tonight, and we will be live. Of course, I'll be here. Darrell will be live from Tucson, and we'll have all of the action recapped. Hopefully, talking about a huge win, but an important, massive game nonetheless. Please like the video. Please subscribe. We will see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.